After emerging from the water pot, Muichiro finds himself confronted with the daunting task of extracting the embedded needles from his body. However, as he diligently works on removing them, a potent numbness courses through his veins, a result of the venom infused within the needles. Despite the pain, Muichiro persists, determined to free himself from this poisonous affliction. Amidst this struggle, his attention is drawn to the motionless form of Kotetsu, lying unconscious nearby, and the menacing bladed fish demon lurking in the shadows. To his dismay, Muichiro witnesses a horde of additional demons gathering. Drained of strength and unable to even stand, he helplessly witnesses the demonic creatures closing in on the defenseless young smith, his life flashing before his eyes in a fleeting moment of despair. In that critical moment, Muichiro's mind is flooded with memories of his father's unwavering support and encouragement. He vividly recalls a younger version of himself, burdened with a load of lumber, struggling to stay on his feet, but finding solace in his father's unwavering belief in his capabilities. As a woodcutter's son, Muichiro had always shared a deep bond with his father, relishing in the shared labor of felling trees and cherishing the joy that radiated from his father's face during their work together. However, amidst their idyllic existence, a stormy night cast a shadow of impending tragedy upon their lives, as Muichiro's ailing mother's condition took a turn for the worse. Muichiro finds himself in a situation where he needs to explain to his mother that their father has gone out to gather medicinal herbs. Seeing her suffering from a high fever, he replaces her wet cloth and arranges another futon for her comfort. In her feeble state, she mumbles about feeling cold, prompting Muichiro to embrace her and assure her that their father will return soon. Meanwhile, outside in the midst of a harsh storm, Muichiro's father reaches a precipice where he spots the desired herbs. Struggling to reach them, he stretches his arm as far as possible to retrieve a bundle for his ailing wife. Just as he inches closer, the rock beneath him suddenly gives way, causing him to plummet to his death while clutching the precious herbs in his hand. Tragically, Muichiro's mother passes away on that very same night. Left orphaned at the tender age of 10, Muichiro initially believes he is utterly alone, but memories resurface, reminding him that he actually had a twin brother named Yuichiro at the time. Walking back home together from their parents' graves, Yuichiro begins expressing his disdain for compassion, believing that helping others holds no meaning. Muichiro, deeply hurt by his twin's harsh words, musters the courage to speak up, emphasizing that helping others ultimately benefits oneself, just as their father had taught them. Upon hearing Yuichiro's words, Muichiro is taken aback and hurt. He refuses to accept Yuichiro's criticism of their father's efforts to save their mother. However, Yuichiro remains adamant, asserting that the herbs would never have been able to cure her illness. He coldly points out that if their father hadn't gone out, they would have been left with only one deceased parent. Muichiro is deeply affected by Yuichiro's harsh statement, but his twin dismisses his protests, commanding him to stay silent. Yuichiro cruelly reminds Muichiro that the mu in his name signifies incompetence, insinuating that their conversation is futile since they cannot change the past. He further adds that the mu in his own name represents meaninglessness, causing his twin to break down in tears. Muichiro reminisces about how he would adopt his twin's demeanor whenever his memories faded, adopting a blunt and harsh attitude. He reflects on their shared living arrangement, feeling suffocated by Yuichiro's coldness and apparent disdain for him. As the seasons changed and spring arrived, Muichiro ventured to the river to fetch water. Upon informing Yuichiro of his intention, his twin responded with annoyance, expecting him to have done so already. While collecting water at the river, he unexpectedly encountered a woman with white hair named Amain Ubuyashiki, whose beauty left him awestruck. Initially mistaking her for a forest spirit, Muichiro learned that she was the wife of the leader of the demon Slayer Corps. Amain explained that she had come to the mountains with an offer. However, Yuichiro, displaying hostility, rudely dismissed her and compelled her to leave. Later that night, Muichiro shared his excitement with his twin about a mane revealing their ancestry as descendants of the original swordsman who wielded the first breathing style. Yet, Yuichiro disregarded his enthusiasm and ordered him to wash some rice. Muichiro attempted to convey his belief that they should become swordsmen, and use their skills to aid those who suffer from demons. As Muichiro expresses his belief in their ability to help others, Yuichiro forcefully slams his knife onto the cutting board, abruptly cutting off his twin's words. Consumed by anger, he confronts Muichiro with a burning rage, questioning how he could entertain the notion of becoming a swordsman when he can't even cook rice properly. Yuichiro goes on to criticize Muichiro's unwavering optimism, comparing him to their mother who concealed her deteriorating health and their father who ventured out into a storm to fetch herbs. Recalling his futile attempts to persuade their parents to prioritize their own well-being, Yuichiro bitterly asserts that the act of helping others is a privilege reserved for the chosen few. Doubting the significance of their lineage as descendants of swordsmen, he challenges Muichiro's belief in their potential, asserting that their fate is destined to be a purposeless demise devoid of value, just like their parents. With a flat tone, he dismisses any further conversation on the matter and instructs Muichiro to assist in preparing dinner. In the aftermath of their intense argument, Muichiro vividly remembers the silence that settled between him and his twin. Their once lively conversations ceased, and they barely exchanged a word, except for the day they had a physical altercation when a mane visited them again. Ever since that incident, Yuichiro had coldly ignored Muichiro, refusing to offer any assistance even when it was needed, his face eternally etched with a scowl. During an unbearably hot summer, both twins found themselves constantly irritable, the stifling nights offering no respite from the sweltering heat and the relentless buzz of cicadas. One sleepless night, Muichiro tossed and turned in his bed, drenched in sweat, unable to find solace in sleep. As he rose to quench his thirst, he noticed that Yuichiro too was awake, visibly bothered and perspiring. Suddenly, a demon materialized within the confines of their home, caught off guard by the fact that only children were present. Its malevolent gaze fixated on Muichiro, ready to strike him down. Yuichiro swiftly sprang out of bed, positioning himself as a shield between Muichiro and the demon's attack. However, the demon's strike landed successfully, severing Yuichiro's left arm and drenching the twins in a shower of blood. Reacting swiftly, Muichiro pulled his injured twin to safety, taking refuge in a corner of the house. The demon grew increasingly annoyed by Yuichiro's cries of pain and belittled the woodcutter's worth, dismissing their lives as insignificant. In that moment, something within Muichiro snapped, unleashing an uncontrollable surge of violent fury that consumed him. Reflecting on the event now, Muichiro still struggles to comprehend the intensity of that rage and admits to having no recollection of his actions during that time. It was as if a ferocious roar erupted from his very soul, and in the blink of an eye, the demon met a gruesome demise, hacked apart by various gardening tools and impaled on wooden stakes and stones. Despite his grievous wounds, the demon writhed in excruciating pain, unable to find release in death. Finally, as sunlight bathed his twisted form, the demon disintegrated into ash, vanishing into oblivion. Witnessing the demise of the demon, Muichiro released his weapons and wearily made his way back home, but exhaustion overcame him just a few steps away from the front door. With an overwhelming desire to reach his twin, Muichiro mustered every ounce of strength to crawl the remaining distance. Upon arriving home, he found Yuichiro barely clinging to life and hurried to his side. Yuichiro was fervently praying to the gods, beseeching them to save his brother. Overwhelmed by guilt and self-condemnation, Muichiro pleaded for punishment to befall only himself, realizing the origin of the Mu in his name. As his twin wept and clutched his blood-stained hand, Muichiro's determination grew. The crimson clouds imprinted on his face, he seized his blade, and unleashed the mist-breathing technique, fourth form shifting flow slash. In an instant, he swiftly dispatched the bladed fish demons, rescuing Kotetsu. Muichiro then turned his attention to Kotetsu, who urged him to disregard his injuries and assist Hotaru. Obliging the command, Muichiro rushed to aid Hotaru, who continued to diligently polish his blade despite sustaining severe wounds and losing an eye. Seething with anger, Gyokko, now consumed by fury, fixated his attention on the heavily injured Kozo, believing that killing him would finally elicit a response from Hotaru. Suddenly, Gyokko senses a blade swiftly approaching him and narrowly evades Muichiro's slashing attack. Confusion fills his mind as he wonders how the Hashira managed to escape his water prison pot. Gyokko speculates that his lack of focus on Muichiro, due to his belief in imminent death, may have played a role, although he interprets it as a testament to his own profound concentration. Examining Muichiro closely, Gyokko recognizes the distinctive marks on his face, connecting them to the information shared by Muzan about that child with the earrings. Perplexingly, Gyokko observes that Muichiro appears remarkably calm despite his supposed paralysis, and he questions how the Hashira was able to land a slash on his shoulder. Seizing the opportunity, Muichiro unleashes an assault, prompting Gyokko to retaliate by directing a pot towards him and unleashing his blood demon art, Octopus Vase Hell. Enormous tentacles emerge from the pot, snatching Muichiro and Kozo, shattering blades and demolishing the surrounding workspace. Gyokko smugly ponders Muichiro's opinion of his resilient and elastic tentacles, confident that they cannot be sliced. Meanwhile, Hotaru, who has been knocked outside, remains focused on his task, clutching his polishing stone and continuing his work, much to Gyokko's annoyance. Determined to eliminate and absorb the Hashira first, Gyokko is taken aback as he witnesses the tentacles restraining Muichiro and Kozo suddenly disintegrate. With his newly crafted blade in hand, Muichiro expresses gratitude to the swordsmith, acknowledging that Kozo had constructed it according to the instructions provided by his first master, Tetsudo. As he wields the blade, he delights in its perfect balance, a seamless extension of his own being. Memories of a conversation with Tetsudo resurface in Muichiro's mind. Tetsudo had shared his struggles, the weight of his responsibilities, his lapses in memory, and his relentless determination to surpass himself. He had also confided in Muichiro, confessing that tears welled up whenever he wielded the blade specially made for him. Tetsudo worried not for his own mortality, but for Muichiro's well-being. Reflecting on these words, Muichiro apologizes to Tetsudo for causing him concern, assuring him that he is doing well. As Gyokko prepares his fearsome octopus vase held technique and Muichiro assumes a battle stance, he addresses Tetsudo once again, acknowledging his worries but asserting that he is prepared for the imminent confrontation. The tentacles loom closer, but empowered by his distinctive marks, Muichiro unleashes his agility, executing the mist-breathing, fifth form, Sea of Clouds and Haze technique. He slashes through the encroaching tentacles with unparalleled speed, aiming a decisive strike at Gyokko's neck. However, the demon swiftly evades, emerging from a new pot atop a tree, commending Muichiro's newfound swiftness while asserting his own superiority in maneuvering between pots. To Gyokko's surprise, Muichiro challenges his perception and questions the dulling of his senses due to age. Initially bewildered, the upper five suddenly feels a slashing sensation on his neck, leaving him stunned. Muichiro assures Gyokko that their next encounter will yield a proper strike, yet the demon warns him not to underestimate his abilities. In the blink of an eye, Gyokko disappears from sight, reappearing behind Muichiro, his vases poised to unleash high-velocity jets of water. Muichiro's agile movements guide him through the dense forest, deftly avoiding the onslaught. The scene becomes more chaotic as a swarm of Gyokko's goldfish demons materialize, releasing a barrage of venomous needles in Muichiro's direction. With nimble precision, the Mist Hashira evades each attack, his mind drifting back to the final words of apology spoken by his late twin, Yuichiro. Sensing danger, Gyokko summons his octopus tentacles to ensnare Muichiro, but the swift Hashira effortlessly leaps and dances out of their reach. In a decisive move, Muichiro slashes at the vases, disarming Gyokko and locking eyes with his infuriated adversary. And this brings the Part 8 to an end. Comment for Part 9. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss out on another anime recaps videos. Until next time, take care.